Hi, everybody. I'm Nadine Gilkison. If you don't remember who I am, I'm the District Technology Integration Specialist at Franklin Township Schools in Indianapolis, Indiana. And today I'm really excited because a good friend of mine, Jessica Reed, is going to join us today. And I got to know Jessica because we are both Google innovators and we're part of NYC 19 and also part of the same team. And I'm going to let her do a little bit more of an introduction about herself, but she's very passionate about special ed and she has lots of great information to share. If you're just joining us, if you want to post in the chat who you are, what you do, and where you're from, I'll be kind of monitoring the chat once she gets going with the presentation, but I'll let Jessica introduce herself.
Okay, so do you want me to go ahead and pull up my presentation or just?
Yeah, you can do that because I know
Okay.
you had your intro in there, so I know you need to share your screen again.
Yes.
And you're fine.
All right. Did it go?
It sure did.
Sweet. If it'll pull up. All right. Are we good? Can you, oh, all right, are we good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay.
Yep, you're good.
Okay, so I will get started. Okay, like Nadine said, my name is Jessica Reed. My EDS is just in instructional technology. My Twitter is at Kentucky Girl in Alabama. And I got my Twitter name way before I ever thought about doing educational Twitter. So I
am
a University of Kentucky graduate.
I'm going to pause you there for just a second, Jessica, because I'm hearing you go really fast.
Oh,
So
sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm going to have you take out your headphones, and I'll just mic myself because I think that's what's causing it.
Okay, is that better?
All right, better? Continue on. All right.
Okay. Gotta love technology. So anyway, I am the SPED Tech teacher, and that's just the name I've been going through the last couple of years, just presenting. And I'm a Google innovator. I got to do that with Nadine. It was definitely a fantastic program that we were through, and it really kind of awakens you for what your passion is in education. All right, so like I said, I'm a special ed teacher. I currently teach middle school resource, ELA, 6th or 8th grade, and I'm a Google innovator, like I said. I'm a mama to a precious 2-year-old who, if you randomly hear in the background, she's currently napping. I am a Kentucky alum, and I love Google. And funny story, the other part of this picture is your book.
All right, I'm going to pause you again, Jessica. It's still giving like the feedback, and I'm starting to wonder if it's because you're sharing your screen and that. I think what I may do to help this out, I think I'm going to share your presentation so that way on your bandwidth, it's not eating up as much. So
okay.
Let me try that. So I'm going to stop. Okay, so I stopped that, and I think that's better because I can hear you clear. Talk for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I hear you fine. I hear you fine there. I'm going to share your slides, and then you'll just tell me when to go to the next slide. So let me get it pulled up here. Sorry, I feel bad for you that it's not your fault. It's just internet. So let me get in here.
You're good.
I wanted to take off Kick from Studio. All right, so let me share my entire screen. All right. I'm going to go back here again. Yeah, I'm on full screen. All right, Jessica, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I know you were on, I think you were talking about your daughter. So I'm going to go to that slide. We'll just go there. And does it work for you?
Yes. Just waiting for it to pull up before I start talking.
Okay.
Okay. So before we get started, this is my daughter Elizabeth. She's now almost 3. This is just a really funny picture of her. Way cooler than I ever would be.
Such a cutie.
So we're going to talk about teaching how to use Google and other options to make collaboration happen. Can you go back one?
Sure. Sorry.
You're good. So the main thing is just this is not about fussing with each other, that kind of stuff. It's really just to figure out how to be an effective team for your students. All right, you can go ahead.
Thanks.
All right, so we're going to just talk about what is co-teaching, how can this benefit you, and how you use Google and other options to collaborate with others to improve your classroom. You can go ahead and click.
Is it showing what is co-teaching?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is it showing, and you want it on this slide? What is co-teaching?
What is co-teaching? Yeah.
Okay. I tell you what, I'm going to. You can go ahead.
It just says. Okay. Just what is co-teaching? Co-teaching is when 2 or more educators share a classroom. And it's an opportunity to work with kids together. All right, if you want to go to the next one. I really kind of talk about how, and this is where the collaboration prenup kind of comes into play. Co-teaching is similar to marriage. It can be great, like everything's hunky-dory, or it can, by the end of the year, you're either wanting to stay happily married or you're wanting to get divorced.
And I've always loved that analogy that you do.
Typically, it's the more the latter that people want to get divorced. And we know we've all been in that situation before. And this might be just because my husband is an attorney. But we talk about, how to solve the marriage crisis. So with collaboration, just imagine having a document that explains all the expectations and information for the school year, such as who's doing what. And then both teachers sign off of it, which is very similar to what a prenup does. And so it's basically a contract of sorts. And then your leadership or admin would actually sign off on it, similar to an attorney or a judge would. So that is actually in the process. But that is my Google project.
Which I love, by the way. She knows I love it. I just love the whole idea of it. Because I was a gen ed teacher that had SPED. in my classroom for several years. And I love that idea, especially thinking about, collaborating and working together so much between the resource and Gen Ed.
It's just really funny. I'm talking to you about it today. My new principal sent me a contract similar to that. And I was like, hey, this is actually my Google projects. We're on the same wavelength. So co-teaching allows the students to have two teachers in the classroom. It's similar to imagining if a student clicks better with you than the other teacher and vice versa. And we know that the kids are going to have their favorites, just like we have our favorites. Sometimes you're going to have a kid that works well with you, and sometimes they don't. So that's the perk of having two people in the classroom. All right, so there are 6 steps to having a great co-teaching experience. And that's rapport, teaching styles, strengths and weaknesses, IEPs, working together, and taking risks.
Which all of those are great.
Yes. All right, so step 1 is establishing rapport with one another. And basically this means just establishing, some type of good relationship, whether it's a working relationship or not. You don't have to be best friends with the person, but it is important to have a mutual respect for one another. So just having some kind of rapport for one another, because you are going to be in each other's classroom, or somebody's going to be in your classroom and vice versa. The next one.
And then
next one. Huh?
Oh, and then step 2. Sorry, there's probably a delay for you.
Yeah, I know. There was, yeah. And then just so everybody teaches differently. Like, I'm not one to lecture. Like, I like to actually do activities with the kids. I'm very hands-on, but not every teacher's like that. So you have to identify your different teaching styles and then use them to create your own style together for the classroom, which is a really good idea when you're trying to figure out how the kids work with each other, or if you have more kids who are kinesthetic, or you have more kids who are audio, visual, it'll give you some good key ideas. The next step is just discussing your strengths and weaknesses in the classroom. So one of my weaknesses for a very long time was classroom management. I was not great at it. Like, if I could look back at my very first classroom, bless them, as we say in the South, because I was not good with classroom management. I didn't really know what was going to happen in the classroom because college didn't really prepare me for that. But as I've gotten older, I've definitely, created my own style of classroom management. And I consider now a strength because I, prefer to have relationships and that kind of thing with my kids. And so there's that mutual respect. Another one of my strengths is that I'm very organized. That, I might be compared with somebody whose weakness is organization. So you guys compare off of each other and figure that out. hopefully you're compatible with somebody that they do it back and forth. It skipped really far ahead.
Oh, did it? I'm sorry.
We're on step 4. There you go.
There we go. Step 4. Sorry about that. I don't know why it did that.
It was like, all right, she's almost done. So basically, the purpose of having a SPED or even an ESOL or a paraprofessional in your classroom is you have to talk about the IEPs, ELLs, or 504 students and how to cover all their different needs. And if you don't know what some of those things are, IEP is individual education plan, ELL is English language learners, and then 504 is students who do not qualify for IEP but still need some kind of services. These are typically like they have asthma, diabetic, that kind of thing. And each state does this completely differently. My biggest push for this is that IEPs are legal documents. They can end you up in court. So it's very important that you take notice of everything that's in an IEP because it's serious business.
Yes.
That's my biggest takeaway from that. All right, so step 5 is, and this is where the prenup could come in action. Just working together to come up with a plan of action and create a united front. You don't want the kids to play you off each other like mom and dad. Like if they ask you to do one thing and then you say no, and then they go to the other teacher. You want everybody to be on the same page. And then, maybe if you're the regular teacher is going to grade all the writing, but you're going to create all the Google activities, just sharing the workload.
I love that one because I think just like how you said it, that the kids will play like mom against dad or, the SPED teacher versus the gen ed teacher. And I do think that that's key of having that plan together.
Yes. And then the last but not least is taking risks. Thinking outside the box when it comes to lessons and activities. We're at a point now where the kids need to do more project-based learning, and so that they're able to understand what's really going on in a real-world situation, not just Timmy has 3 apples. He needs 2 more. The kids need to be in control of their learning, and this is how you can do it.
Cool. And I know that you're really good about, being able to provide those think outside the box types of activities.
Yes. So I'll share that with you at the end, my website where I've got some different resources for anybody to check out.
Cool.
So the biggest thing about it is communication is key. You have to talk with each other. You have to keep each other informed about what's happening with the students in the classroom. It's not something like you are gossiping about a kid. You keep the confidentiality, but if you know something's going on at home, you kind of maybe can talk to the teacher to let them know, and vice versa. And it's also important that you talk to each other first rather than just running to an administration, because you need to have that trust with each other. All right, so there are several different kind of co-teaching structures. There's a really good authors, Brandon Cook. They are like the gurus of co-teaching. So if you ever just have some free time and want to read more about co-teaching in depth, Brandon Cook are the ones to go to. So we've got one teacher observe. This is usually the teacher delivers instruction while the other observes student learning. This is great for when you have to do progress monitoring or any of that kind of stuff. And so you really are able to kind of identify specific students and figure out what's going on with them. This is not something to do all the time.
Cool.
All right, the next one is parallel. This is basically where you're into two separate groups and you're both doing the same activity. You're just into a smaller group, and it's not simply pull out or intervention. You would mix the kids with the regular and the SPED into two separate groups.
This is kind of bringing me back to when I was in the classroom. And as I said, I was a gen ed teacher who had several SPED students in my room. And I really liked doing that method too, the parallel teaching. It depended upon what year it was and what types of students that I had. But sometimes if we were able to divide and conquer, we were both teaching the same concept, but each group was getting it exactly how they needed it. But it wasn't something that I did every day. It was a mix. So when I see these different options, the SPED teachers that I got to know, they would come up with different one of these co-teaching strategies. So it is definitely beneficial.
That's awesome. The next one is more of what you would typically see in a paraprofessional situation, whereas one teach, one assist. So you would have somebody teaching up front and then have somebody else walking around helping the kids as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, this would be me in a math classroom because I don't do math. And so I would be the one that the kids, especially middle school math, it's awful.
Yeah.
So hard. And kids would be doing something and my co-teacher would be teaching, I would raise my hand and ask a question. And it makes the kids feel like they're smarter than Miss Reed. But they're wanting to ask that question, they're just not wanting to do it. So this kind of gave them like, oh, okay, so she doesn't understand it. It's okay. Like, come on, Miss Reed. Shouldn't you know this? And I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I would definitely be that method as well. Totally. And I actually have two of my own kids have IEPs, and one of my children, has mentioned to me before, like, oh, I don't want to say that I need help on the math because nobody else is asking. So I think that's another strong point for, you putting yourself out there and, you being the one that says, oh, you know what, I think I need some help with that.
I think the kids need to know that you're human and that you're not perfect.
Yes.
Because God knows I'm not good at math. And I'm dreading when my child goes to school to do math because I'm afraid I won't know how to do it the way she needs to. But it kind of makes the kids realize, like, oh, okay. It's okay if we don't totally understand it.
Right.
So the next one is station teaching. This is really good for if you're doing like a workshop model or meeting small groups.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had individual like work time or then partner activities, and then you'd have two separate teachers working on different activities, and the kids kind of do a rotation. A lot of kids do this in, kindergarten through third grade. You can do station teaching in middle and high school. You just have to make it work.
Okay.
And you have to set that up, those expectations up early in your classroom so that they know how to, what's expected and how to follow it.
Cool.
And then alternative teaching is this very similar to kind of like the two small groups. Baby, I don't know what's wrong. Sorry, boss baby is not working. We have to get it to work again. So alternative teaching, like I said, more intense instruction for them. And then the larger group does something else differently, but maybe it's just not as intense, or they're doing like they're reviewing something.
Cool.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. And I like that option as well, because I think
If you go the next one.
I think anything where they're not, where a student isn't necessarily, pulled out of the classroom to get that additional service. I love any of the push in models.
Yes, I do too. Anytime you can make a student not feel so isolated,
Sorry, there I've still got Jessica. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know, but I have my co-host with me, Elizabeth.
I see there.
Gotta love technology on the days we need it to work. If you want to go back, I'll keep talking.
Okay. Let me go back to sharing my screen. I'll share my audio.
Okay, let's not. All right, so let's talk about team teaching. Team teaching is definitely one of my absolute favorite things. This is like the dream of collaboration. You guys are both working together, and it's like you tag team off of each other.
And I've been very fortunate to have some special ed teachers that I've been able to do that with, and it was awesome.
That's awesome. I have a friend of mine who we have ended up being like read and write.
Mm-hmm.
We taught English. We even have our own little hashtag read and write.
Nice.
Kids think we're dorks, but whatever works. Let's not touch the button, okay? Sorry. Please don't cry. Please don't cry.
We're live.
I know. I'm like, please don't cry. Please don't cry. So, some of the things that you can do to actually make collaboration happen in the classroom is using Google, which we're both Googling people. But one of the things is using Google Calendar, and you can do this for sharing a calendar, scheduling meetings, which especially like IEP meetings, everybody can participate that way. Or now, as we're doing, Zoom meetings or Google Meets.
Mm-hmm.
Sending reminders, invites to meetings, and then setting up different tasks. Which, if you are going to work together in the classroom, and it could even be a paraprofessional. Paraprofessionals are just as equally important as teachers. They just don't get paid as much as they should.
Right.
But they're not the content person as someone who went to school. I've been a paraprofessional. It was very hard. And so, you want to treat them with just the same respect as you would another fellow teacher. They're not there just to cut stuff out for you. They're there to help the kids. So if you're going to share a calendar, the biggest thing about this is that you can't do it on the app or on a tablet. You actually have to be on your Chromebook, or you have to be on something where you can actually do it. All you have to do is the 3 little jelly beans on the side. You click. I don't know what they're called.
I would say the 3 dots, but I like the 3 little jelly beans better. I call the Chrome menu like the tiny waffle, so I like jelly bean too.
I like that waffle. And then so you can choose the settings and sharings, and then you can share with specific people or email groups. You can also adjust the people's permission for what they can do. Because you have that one person who's going to do everything and be like, da, 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 da. You can meet them, I believe. You know what I'm talking about. Somebody who's just they're that person in a faculty meeting who raises their hand at like 40.
Right.
Okay, so the next one, which we don't have to watch, but you can it can, when you like, if you were to this presentation, they can go back and watch it. It's just how to during Cast 5. My friend Stephanie, we call ourselves the Google Girls, professional development art, and she created a screencast of 5. So you can actually go up to the next one. Just setting up tasks and calendars, it's kind of the same thing. You know, it's just important that you are okay. The joy of having someone to collaborate with is that you can both, the workload should decrease, not increase, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
No, I like just like that. In a good marriage, I mean, you're going to go through your trials and tribulation, as we all know, but and the workload should never double for what it will be.
Cool.
Okay, and so I think the next part just shows you how to actually do it.
Okay.
And I think that's what that is too.
Okay.
Sorry, it's a minute and I can't really see the screen.
It's totally fine. So then we can add that in there.
Okay. So a lot of times I have 4 calendars going all at the same time. That's just the nature of the beast, and I'm sure you've got more going because you have 4 little ones. Or they're not little anymore, but you know, you've got all these things going on, plus doing all the district stuff. Google Calendar is really important, especially with IT and that kind of thing. You have those down so that everybody can be on the same page.
Yes, I do. I live by my Google Calendar as well. Oh, and I like how you start to talk about Google Classroom. This is good.
Yeah. We've probably been like one-to-one devices for going on almost 3 years. And so we really embraced Google Classroom, at least at the middle school, especially this last year. And so talking to a gen ed teacher, a friend of mine, she said using Google Classroom is really great because it allows everything to be in one place. And the students are able to keep everything together. And you don't have paperwork, which middle schoolers are notorious for losing things.
Right.
But especially now that we're doing distance learning, and this may seem like this may be somewhat of our norm, at least for the next little bit. Google Classroom is a great place to keep things together, and that just have that rapport with the students one-on-one. I really like Google Classroom because from a SPED perspective, if I'm a coach in Google Classroom, I can write on all the students' papers, I can comment. One of my favorite things to do is the very first in school is to have them grab the Chromebook and start typing. And I'll look at their thing as they're typing on my Chromebook. And then you make the little comments and you see their heads like go.
You're watching me right now?
Like, yeah, like how are you doing this? Like, how are you commenting?
Right.
Because
I wanted to ask because in our district, and I'm not sure because I know I saw that I have some of my SPED teachers in here. I know in our district that a lot of our SPED may have, like if they have certain groups, they might have their own Google Classroom. So do you think it's better to just be part of the gen ed teachers, or do you like have a purpose to have one just for SPED?
So that's a really good question. I would be a part, if you're an inclusion classroom, I would be a co-teacher because you are not only teaching those SPED kid, you're also working with the other ones as well.
Okay.
At least my interpretation is that both things are on the test boards. I mean, like you are responsible just for the SPED kids, but the entire classroom. Now, if you were going to do your own Google Classroom, the idea I really like, and I'm going to try this next year. Are you going to share this idea? Is to have a Google Classroom just for your caseload. And so what you could do is actually provide different progress monitoring activities for the kids to do.
Okay.
Because you can find them individually, different activities.
Now, I will tell you, I'm actually going to stop the screen share for a minute so they can see that we'll have a discussion about this. I wanted to let you know that I did have my SPED teachers ask me. They were saying if I did a Google Classroom, legally the kids can't see each other. Like they're not supposed to see who is who in it. And so they started to ask me when we went into distance learning, and I had teachers saying, should I make an individual, like if they have to do progress monitoring and so on, they were asking, should I make an individual Google Classroom for each student on my caseload? And so the only part about Google that is kind of frustrating is that on the people tab, you can see everybody that's in it. And so they were reminding me, they were like, well, technically you're not supposed to see.
Yeah, I could see that.
Who the other people are. So I didn't know if you had any other suggestions, because the best scenario I could think of was if you need to do progress monitoring to set one up for each student on your caseload, which I know that can be a lot.
That's a good point. I guess with my kids, because they're resourced, they all know that there's,
Right.
They all know, like, so-and-so is my case manager, that kind of thing. What I would do is, you could do individual, or depending on if you guys can email back and forth, that would be another way. Or if you wanted to even do Flipgrid, so maybe do a Flipgrid with each of your student grade levels, and then have them present the work that way. Because technically, and you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, you could be the only one that would see the Flipgrid, right? Like you don't automatically share the thing. And so if you could actually have the student present it to you verbally, like here's my, blah, blah, blah.
As an individual. A couple of other options I've thought that I've shared with our teachers, Google Sites. I told them that if they needed a place to like share resources for parents, I said, what if you just used Google Sites, and then that way you don't know which kid, like anybody can go out to your website and get the resources. So maybe you have it like with different skills that they might be working on. And then that way it's like a resource bank that they can go to. Also Seesaw, I wondered about too, because in Seesaw, you could have that connection between, just one student as well. I was just trying to think of some other options for them.
I don't know much about Seesaw. I think
you need to look at that one.
That's what I've heard. I know Seesaw is used a lot in younger grades. But I've definitely heard about Seesaw.
Yeah. I think Seesaw is trying to kind of rebrand themselves. So it's not just little kids, that it's everyone that's using it.
No, I've heard it's really cool because can't you do like artifacts and that kind of thing and share with which that would be great to build a portfolio. I just like to think doing the Google Classroom if you have a kid and you're trying to build their portfolio.
Yeah.
The progress monitoring. But I guess I never really thought about them seeing each other.
Right.
That's a good point.
Something we need to tell Google is they just need to take the people one off. Like, as a student, do I need to know everybody that's in my class? And if they just took that off of the student view, then it would solve that problem right away. So maybe that's just something that we need to start telling them in the feedback.
That's a good,
It would totally solve that, because I hadn't thought about it until the total distance learning thing. But I'm glad.
There's a whole lot of things we're not thinking about until
I know, until it's now. All right. Do you want me to go back to sharing my screen again?
Sure.
Okay. Let me get back in here.
It's okay.
All right. All right. So adding a co-teacher. So you're going to tap on that plus sign and then invite the teacher.
Okay.
And then I'm on the differentiation in Google.
Yes. Which that is, I always think that it's important to. I'm sorry, say that again, Nadine.
So using differentiation in Google, I like that you have that on here.
Oh, yeah. So my main thought process behind that is that not every student is going to need the same thing. And the biggest thing now is to really meet the students where their needs are. And so you can do that through like Google Classroom, like 6 different work things. Even if you're in a regular classroom, maybe you have to create a different assignment for somebody. You can share it with them that way.
Cool. Yeah, and that was one of the things about Google Classroom that I love, that you can differentiate those assignments for the students.
Love almost through
You're almost done. You're pretty good.
And then the getting it to work for you, you know, using Google Calendar. I'm all about making things work for you, not make it harder. Kind of like why reinvent the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
I love using Google Slides, forms, and doing breakout sessions. I love doing Google Slides as a collaborative project with my kids. I do a lot of like Edgar Allan Poe, the poem. I put the stanzas in a different slide, and then the kids tell me their interpretation of what the slide, of what that stanza means.
Cool.
You know, that's the whole project. Just assigning kids different work, like I said before, and then just having the kids actually work collaboratively with you on writing. And this is something that's really important now with the being distance learning. You can respond to the kid and have that conversation, you know, kind of like in a private situation on Google Docs or whatever, kind of have that, like, you need to work on this, you need to work on that, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what that is. Oh, creating forms and breakouts. I just had several teachers who have asked me about breakout rooms and how cool those are, which I'm sure you've talked about that before. Just a really good way to do review or even introduce a new topic. I like forums because it gives the kids a chance to provide feedback to you. A lot of times we give them so much feedback, we don't always want to know what they think. Right. They're going to be honest with you. Like I teach part-time at a local college. This is my last semester doing it because they found somebody to do it full-time. And one of the kids was like really good in their response. Like, well, she didn't, blah, blah, blah. But it was kind of interesting because it kind of opened my eyes, like, well, maybe I should have done it this way, you know, like kind of rethink my teaching a little bit. And the kids, I think, would prefer to share that information to you privately or like through a forum to where they can say, well, I did understand it this way, but maybe if you did it this way, it would be better, kind of thing.
Cool. I'm actually gonna pause and stop sharing so that way we leave some time. So because I see some folks that are putting in some questions and things, and since we just have a few minutes left, I see that Kelly's on here, and Kelly put on here that she's definitely a co-teacher in classes with her SPED teachers, and that really helps. And I like how she also put in here that it really helps with communication. And I would agree with that. I don't know if you have integrated the audio in Google Slides as much yet, but I know I've used that quite a bit.
I haven't. I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah. And if you need it, in the presentation I did earlier, I've got like the step-by-step.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, if you need that, you can use that. Cool. Well, I appreciate you joining today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope I was at least somewhat kind of useful, even though the almost 3-year-old wanted to give her opinion on collaborative.
That's all right. It's real life. No problem. I'm sure if any of my teachers have any further questions, I can put them in contact with you. And I'm excited to see, everything that goes on with your project, of course. All right.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today.